Hello there and welcome to the most self-indulgent show on YouTube.
Oh yeah!
Today's FANPASTA is called The Ultimate Pasta and it is by Alexo. And it comes
That name sounds familiar.
And it comes in several parts. Part 1, Axel Society. We're off to a good start with the title of the chapter. Okay. Richard sat at his desk, petrified by Bloodshine's lackluster speech. It was a boring day in the ass room, and he let his eyes glaze upon the other students. The most noticeable colleague was Jeff. The staple for the school joke is that his name is The Killer, as he is known to kill people with his rippling old voice. Richard watched as Jeff stared at the beautiful spy Valerie Hudson. Valerie's affections lied with Thomas Simple, the school's recluse. Thomas and Jeff were quite similar, and it caused some angsty rivalry between the two.
Okay.
By the way, for anyone wondering, we're actually trying not to laugh while we read this, so we can actually get through it.
We're not succeeding very
My
well.
neck actually hurts, so I feel like I'm going to give myself a tumour.
It's not a tumour.
Richard rolled his eyes. He had no interest in... He had no interest in Valerie Hudson. And instead tried to listen to Mr. Bloodshine, the teacher. Mr. Bloodshine was giving a lesson on diseases, and the disease of subject that they were using was MML, otherwise known as massive mind loss. The disease had first surfaced in a small child named Max, and everyone suspects that Jeff may have a strain of it. Suddenly, an announcement popped up on the board from the Lord Dictator of Axel Society. It had become Axel Society after the president was murdered by a 12-year-old child, though he insisted the murder happened because of a game.
Nice reference.
You may remember the dictator, Axel, came on the loudspeaker. Here is what she said. Hello, students. Today was National Mario Day, and as such, the classes for today will be cancelled. Thank you. And remember our anthem. Richard listened as a blood whistle played the national anthem of Axel Society, The Hounds. Fucking hell. Right. In the corner of the room, Jesse Wolfe cheered. Obviously, he was looking forward to a day of Minecraft with his best friends, Roma, Stoney, and Dark. Jeff and Thomas made eye contact and snarl. The bell rang and the students departed. Jeff and his friends bored fear and shock.
Nice!
Usually were hanging out by the flagpole after school, but today they were behind the school because Jeff wanted a cigarette. As he lit one, a man dressed in all black passed by him. It was Metalcore Vegetarian.
Those things can kill you.
He said.
I am so offended.
Jeff pulled out a knife, but turned around and floated outside. Metalcore ran away in fear and shock. Jeff smirked at his group. That's how we do things round here, he said to Board.
It's cool how you are so willing to kill Jeff.
Board replied. It's because the knife has no reason, Jeff replied. Fear and shock laughed.
If you want to come in and play video games with me, Fear and Shock today,
Board asked with a smile. Jeff shook his head. No, I have to respond to my mountains of fan mail, Jeff replied calmly. Fear, Shock and Board waved goodbye as Jeff ran away. Richard rode the bus as the time flew by. Okay, we're going to get through this without... I think we're going to finish the chapter without laughing, okay? Richard rode the bus as time flew by. Though it was only 10:40 when Axel had departed school for the day, when Richard got home it was 11:20. There had been a build-up of cars at the intersection, and it makes Richard angry to know that he got home late. When he stepped in the door, his mother welcomed him. Hey there, Richard, she said happily. She pat him on the head and watched as his father came down the stairs.
How are your feet, Dad?
Richard said with a worried tone. Well, they're still sore, his dad said with a slightly sad reaction. What are you doing home from school so early?
It's Mario Day, Dad.
Richard chirped.
Don't you remember?
His dad nods. Yeah, of course, his dad smiled. Do you want to go play some ball outside?
You need to rest your feet. Richard replied, I'll just go play some Sonic R.
God. I just fucking can't. You need to rest your feet.
Richard watched as his dad's pupils shrink. A Kefka laugh sounded, but no one seemed to notice.
Thomas and Valerie Hudson, walked down the street. Though they had moved since the mass murder of a football team, they still made it a thing to walk back home together like they did back in the old days, because they liked those early days of their budding romance. The noise of a smaller teen, but deadlier, was heard stalking behind them. It's Jeff, and he followed them. He would wait until Thomas left Valerie, then he would kill Thomas. This is great, it was new paragraph, perfect, and the day would be won. There was a slow laugh from behind a tree as a figure smiled. Thomas wouldn't die today. Soon, many people would die forever. Jesse Wolf was bored of Minecraft on the Xbox 360, and it was time for the PC version.
There's so much of a difference.
Unfortunately, Roma, Stony and Dark didn't have this version. He didn't feel like playing his favourite shooter, warm, buttery Borderlands. Instead, he decided to go outside and take a visitor to his dodgy second-hand game store. Jesse Wolf strolled in and walked up to the cashier.
I've been waiting for you,
the man said. Jesse Wolf shoots a weird look at the man and smiles. I'm looking for some new games, he said happily. Where is the manager and the rest of the staff? The man behind the counter just said,
The game.
He disappeared behind the staff-only room. Soon after, he came out with a disc.
I think you'll like this,
he said.
What you buying, stranger?
Take it for free, stranger.
Jesse took it. The disc was donning the title Super Mario 666. Jesse held out his hand. Thanks, he said. The clerk shook his hand with a...
My name's Bootman Bill. I'll leave this on your doorstep and it'll be there when you get home.
Jesse left the door. Botman Bill smiles. A few shark-whacking moments later, he got home. He put the disc into his Nintendo 64. The station smoked and it wouldn't turn on. As Jesse frowned, oh, for goodness sake, he had an irrational thought. Would in be permanent? He took the game out and blew. Then he put it back in. And this time, the Nintendo 64 turns on. Jesse smiled again, and he waited as the screen loaded up a weird, bloody, creepy, freaky version of Super Mario 64. He was obviously disturbed, and he decided to keep going because it was just that. Plus, he didn't have anything to do on his wait for Minecraft. He didn't notice the pyramid in the lower corner when he pressed start. Oh my goodness, they're introducing the plot.
The gasp.
Richard was playing Sonic R. Sonic R was his favourite game. Despite his strange experiences with the Tails doll, the racing was just so ... good. He never used the Tails doll anymore, nor did any of his friends. But when they did, they never... Come on, Matt, we can do this. They never paired him up with Sonic because you would not want to know what happened. Richard did, and it traumatised him. His parents were confused, mostly because of the chainsaw incident. They had almost checked him into the psych ward, but his father was too traumatised by the description of the Narcissus beast that had been described. And his mother said it was nothing. A pyramid was faintly visible, as a Kefka laugh sounded.
The Hot Pockets in the microwave were steaming hot. Smiling, the janitor of the school took them out and got himself situated for the day on the couch with a plate of Hot Pocket was contained on. That day, he had discovered a copy of Wheel of Fortune in his school on the VHS tape. He was going to watch it. He did, and he was shocked and disturbed. The tape was obviously the work of the Illuminati. He sighs and is shocked. He decides to report it and go to the president, Axel. He reached the building within seconds because the school is actually the White House. Because I'm the Lorax. He walked out inside of it. It was all calm at first, I must say. The door slowly creaked as the President Axel eyed him down.
What do you want?
She said with a grin. I recently watched a very disturbing tip while I was trying to eat a very delicious pepperoni Hot Pocket.
Why does he talk like Jeff?
He's a slightly older version. The janitor replied. She just grinned at him with an awful grin. It was the work of the Illuminati. A knife came down from the ceiling and stabbed him in the ribs. He collapsed and dies.
You know too much.
Axel replied, grinning into oblivion. Kefka laughed. Janitor's roommate, however, the chucked. Was not going to have any of it. He growled as the janitor was his best mate. He would exact revenge however he would come around. Jesse Wolf laid on the ground, dead. He had not heeded the warning of the Illuminati pyramid. And it had ended him in the end.
All right, you know what? I'm going to have another crack because you can't go 2 lines without a corpse in.
Sorry.
Roma, Stoney, and Dark tried contacting him, as if I'm going to do any better. And when they got no response, they banded together to find out what happened. After much Google searching, they discovered there was an address that could help them figure out what had made poor Jesse Wolf reach his expiring date. It was as follows. Illuminati HQ, Mount Super UK. They knew that they would need help, so they contacted all of the people they knew would be able to help them. Richard, Jeff the Killer, Thomas Simple, Valerie Hudson, Fear, Shock, Bored, Bootman Bill, although he declined with a smile, the Chucked, the Toppler, and the Metalcore Vegetarian. Not everyone was happy to be together, but they knew that they would have to band together if it was for the good of the world, and if it stopped the Illuminati. So that's part 1, Axel Society. Prepare yourselves for part 2, the Trials. On the first day of the journey, the newly formed group of Reckoning bought tickets to get to the UK. The plane that carried them seemed a bit hyper-realistic as they stepped on. And only Richard thought that he heard a Kefka laugh. No one else believed him. Thomas and Valerie cuddled the entire plane ride, and it makes Jeff pretty angry. He felt like killing everyone. He had to stop at the in-flight doctor's office, and the doctor just said,
It's your medication. If you still feel like killing everyone in a couple of weeks, come back.
This set him at rest. The Metalcore Vegetarian just listened to music the entire time, and everyone else tried to get some sleep. They knew that the trials awaiting them at the mountain would be treacherous. They arrived at 2 p.m. UK time. They all checked into our hotel, but they barely stayed there. They just set off to Mount Super as per Romy, Dark and Stoney's directions. It seemed to be a small sheed, and Richard and the Chucked didn't even want to approach it. The creepy thing was, it didn't look Photoshop. Eventually, after Thomas and Jeff argued, they finally convinced everyone to get in. When they get in, the door is shut on them. Richard's heart is pounding as he's falling through empty space. Then the light turns on as an eerie banjo melody begins to play. It is a huge room, and all is white, except on the ceiling there is a huge, hyper-realistic and black triangle with the words Illuminati in the middle. Oh snap, Richard says. The Metalcore Vegetarian glared at Jeff as he looked at the ceiling. They knew that there was no kidding to be had, though. This was the real Illuminati headquarters. The only question was, who was running this joint? And what smoky terrors would they be put through? The first one started when they came to the first door at the end of the long white hallway. It was locked. They knew what they had to do. They called upon the Toppler. Nobody beats up the Toppler. Thomas was glad that he didn't kill the Toppler. He thought he did, but when he moved away, the Toppler came with him. The Toppler decided to smash into the door with his rippling biceps. It worked perfectly. The room ahead was a very dark red, much darker than before. There were chasms on both sides, and it looked like a gauntlet of depravity. Thomas laughed and crossed the chasm. Everyone else slowly followed behind. It seemed like these would be the challenges they would face. They knew it would only get harder from there on. That one was easy, but they approached the next door. It was not locked as they went on. They walked into the next room and Richard gasped. It looked just like Tetris. Damn it. How were they going to get through it? For Metalcore Vegetarian, it was easy. He just let everyone follow him, and it worked. So far, the chambers were easy, until they realised something before they advanced to the next room. Dark is gone. They walked back a bit and found him gutted. He was dangling from his colon. They all screamed and decided to get to the next room. The next room wasn't that dark at all. The only person in the room was a pretty girl. Who was she? The group found out immediately as she turned into a purple-black cat with a witch's hat. The room suddenly set on fire, and the cat jumped on shock, slitting his throat. Fia screamed, and the whole group makes a break for the door. They made it just in time. The next room was very dark, minus a spotlight shining on an iPod in the middle. Slowly, Thomas and Valerie approached it. It had a pentagram on the back, ... It was the devil's iPod. They were about to turn it on when Valerie was jumped by a strange beast. She jumped it off her, and Thomas tried to stab it, but it flew back and ran towards Richard on its elbows. A teke sound was in their ears. Richard barely escaped it, and Thomas finally stabbed it. It died. As they got closer to look at it, it has a chicken beak on its face. ... They ran into the next room, terrified. It was the last room, and they knew. It was the last room, and they knew it. This one looked similar to the last, but the spotlight is now just a normal skylight. It had a beautiful look at the moon, but a meteor fell off and crashed through the window. It wasn't the meteor, though. It was another girl. She started singing. Fia and Board started to join in. The girl and Fia sung, "I am Luna and I love the moon. Sing with me." ... Board sung, "I'm new. I love the moon. Sing to me." They were stuck in a trance until they were both brutally killed for absolutely no reason. To this day, no one knows what happened. The remaining group made a break for it into the next room, and it was a small chamber. Okay. All right, guys. If we can make it through this chapter, all right, we are kings. If we can make it through this chapter.
I don't think we can do it. Go on without me.
All right, we can do it. Hold on to your insides, guys. Part
Hold
3.
on to your butts.
Hold on to your laughter. Part 3, the final duel. There was nothing, except for a door. The door was locked, and even the toppler couldn't even break it down. Instead, they just sat there and listened. Someone was talking. There were strange beast noises.
Oh, God.
And a screaming noise was heard. The voice suddenly yelled,
No! We can't kill him! He's a beast version of our mascot!
Suddenly a gigantic Squidward, in the shape of a triangle, bust down the door, screaming and yelling. He had hyper-realistic eyes, and he just disappeared into Luna's room. This opened the door, and this meant the final Illuminati headquarters were open. They see the head honcho. For fuck's sake. It was Luigi. "You thought Satan worked alone?" he says in a demonic voice. No. The group looked around him. He was surrounded by Cthulhu's cultists in a scary formation. "Do you know what I did? I did it all. As the Illuminati, I administered the MML disease. I administered the haunted cartridges. I even hinted at my own involvement in a secret mod of Super Mario World. I created the worst abomination the world has ever seen. The toffee, ... crisp, ... vampire, ... Rumour is he still stalks the forest, ... looking for victims. I did it all. I didn't do it alone, though. A strange small beast floated out. It was the Tails doll. Richard screamed as loud as he could and hid behind Thomas, who was not very happy. Valerie was flirting with Jeff a bit. This was not the time or place. Luigi snapped his fingers and someone in the room started choking. Everyone in the room turned around and saw Turbo Lover with his hands around Metalcore Vegetarian's neck. Before long, he was dead. Luigi and the Tails doll laughed. "Your numbers have been decreasing, have they not?" the Tails doll said in a demonic voice.
It will continue to be like that unless you turn back now. Even then, you may not live. Luna is still out there.
He laughed and looked over at Luigi. who was talking strangely with the Cthulhu cultists. Thomas and Jeff looked at each other and sighed. They hated each other, but they knew not that they would have to band together and actually try to be friends for once. They start by taking out their knives. Jeff finally channels the massive mind loss inside of him. He gets a weird feeling, one that he hasn't felt in a long time. He runs towards the Tails doll and starts swiping his knife at him. They get involved in an intense sword fight. Thomas, on the other hand, sees a broken police car that may have guns in it. He saw the police can as he ran and jumped in it. There were guns. Guns that he would use on Luigi and end the terror of the Illuminati. He took out an AK and hid in the car, occasionally taking shots. The rest of the group distracts Luigi and Thomas takes a shot. One connects in his abdomen. "Oh God, no!" he yells. "Blood, I hate you!" Luigi collapses on the floor and a Kefka laugh sounds. This time everyone heard it. Everyone except for Jeff became very bamboozled. Jeff finally stabbed the Tails doll in its head. It flailed around as Vic's vapor rub flowed out of its wound. It got the strength to finally talk.
I am not the end. See the stairs. Richard, I hate you too.
It burned like it was a bomb and exploded.
It burned like a bomb and it exploded.
Then everyone noticed what the Tails doll had said. They looked at the back of the room, and there was another door. It was labelled Hell 666. They all screamed, and then Thomas noticed Valerie Hudson. She was calling Jeff brave, and she was so proud of him. She was getting very flirtatious, and it made Thomas angry. He pushed Valerie out of the way.
Step off, punk.
Thomas growled. Jeff was still in massive mind-loss mode. And before anyone knew what happened, there was a knife in Thomas's chest. Jeff had stabbed him. Valerie burst into tears, and Jeff was too MML to care. Thomas laid there bleeding to death, and Valerie stepped to his side.
My love, what can I do to save you?
She cried. "Valerie," he choked out.
Valerie Hudson.
"Don't let your life be as painful as mine was. ... He died. She laid down next to him, sobbing. She wasn't going anywhere. The feels were high. Damn it, Toby, I knew you'd crack. Ugh. Everyone, now extremely wary of Jeff, knew that they had to press on one more time. They opened the door into Hell 666. A staircase was revealed, an evil, blood-covered staircase that went down forever, or at least it seemed like it. The remaining people, Jeff, Toppler, Rome, Stoney, Richard, and the Chucked, descended down the stairs for what seemed like hours, days, and months. They finally reached the bottom and crossed a chasm of fire. On the other side was a chamber. When they entered, they knew they were in hell. Sonic was standing on the other side of the chamber. He gave a Kefka laugh, and all was revealed. It was Sonic who was orchestrating everything. He ran the Illuminati. Hell, we was Satan. Everyone knew they were screwed. He Kefka laughed and clapped. The Chucked dropped dead. Roma and Stoney looked angry. Richard was paralysed in fear. Jeff remained motionless.
You're at my mercy now.
Sonic growled.
I shall decide your fate.
He pointed at Jeff the Killer.
You shall live and be the star of Butterclap. Everyone already loves you, God knows why.
With that, Jeff disappeared onto his own life. It was a wonderful day for him. Sonic...
Why is it turned to that?
It's just like a block. Sonic turned to Roma and Stoney. Sonic had two big, beautiful eyes. I killed him. Jesse Wolf from the USA. I went by the name Morse and I killed him. Roma and Stoney are shocked. It all makes sense now. Sonic laughed and shook his head. Roma and Stoney's necks snapped. Sonic turned to the Toppler. Nobody beats you up, eh? Sonic yelled. Well, try this on for size. Sonic lifted up his hand and threw the Toppler off the chasm. He was dead. Come on! Finally, Sonic turned to the last remaining person, Richard. Oh, Richard, the only person ever known to almost kill the Tails doll. You and I are going to have some fun, Sonic said. He whistled and someone came out from the darkness. It was Bootman Bill.
What do you want from me?
Richard cried. Bootman Bill shushed him and placed a pad on his head. Richard's thoughts started flowing from him, and new ones were being put in. Things about laughing and bones. Soon after... Oh God, I know where this is going. That's a brilliant joke. Soon after, Bootman Bill placed a computer in front of him. It was open to a page called Creepypasta Wiki. I have just made a site. It is your job to collect information about the scary pastas, the Slendermans and the Jeffs. It is your job to delete the pastas that are actually true. Now register for the site. You are the admin. Richard, now brainwashed, started to register for the site. He put his name down as LOL Skeletons and began to look through the wiki. And he stays there in hell with Sonic and Bootman Bill moderating for all eternity. The end.
Kudos, man.
Oh my
Jesus.
God, right, shall we read the comments? Yes, those fucking comments. Okay, the Languescent Gamer. Fucking yes, for a start off. The Languescent Gamer, of all people. Who, you may remember, we actually read a comment from on one of our other videos. I'm not sure what the fuck kind of fanfic version of Super Smash Bros. With creepypasta characters I just read, but you know what, ... I bloody loved it. 10 out of 10, you people at Blue Majora sure have some crazy fucked up fans. And a Wikia contributor, that's a specific name. Basically, this is a mashup of characters and events from nearly every bad creepypasta that was read on this channel. You can easily spot some in-jokes. If you click it probably takes you to Some Ordinary Gamers. So, guys, thoughts on the ultimate pasta?
Hey, it goes to us!
Hey,
Whoa!
what a surprise. Toby, what are your thoughts on the ultimate pasta?
That is absolutely hilarious. I mean, Alexo, you are a fucking genius, mate. It's too funny. I'm going to go back home and read again. And then read again. And be hyper-realistic and read it.
Matt?
That was really funny.
One joke you could have made is you could have opened the door, get on the floor.
Everyone, that dinosaur!
Oh man, I didn't even think of that, but you're right. That would have been great. Now, I think, basically, this is only the second episode of FANPASTA.
And that was fucking brilliant.
And I gotta say, if anybody else wants to contribute fan stories to the show, you've got your fucking work cut out for you, because that
We've
was
peaked already.
that was incredible. That was
so
probably
funny.
the funniest
I'm
thing.
waiting for the sequel.
Yes, oh my god.
The Almond
Wait,
Pasta
wait.
2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, the trouble is we're going to have to wait a year to do it, so we need to fill up.
Yeah, just
We need to give him material.
That was so unbelievably funny. Like, trying not to laugh through that was so hard. Like, and just at the end, I think it was so nice to just let rip. Beautiful. I'm so very happy that exists.
It's fun. It's fun to read someone who actually gets the joke.
Yeah, like absolutely, because so many people like when we do, I think what I'm gonna like about doing FANPASTA, what I've liked about doing it so far, is that it's people who get what we're all about, and that we're that these stories are incredibly stupid, and somebody's just like, yeah, these stories are dog shit, and they've written really funny, piss takes of them, and oh man.
That is hilarious. It's great.
If there's one thing that that's made our channel valuable, is that it fucking spawned that story. I'm so over the moon that exists.
I do. I hope you do write a sequel, whether it's now or in the future, and I hope you can somehow work out how crap Jacob is at Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine in there.